Hi, welcome to Postscript. My name is Ashley, and I am joined here with our lead pastor, Jeff. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. We're in this conversation about
Yeah.
relationships. And relationships can be super complex and challenging, but they're a part of our daily lives. And today we're talking a lot about being seen and how important that is, not just being seen, but seeing other people. And you talked about connecting with people, and people are like magnets, right? Some kind of naturally repel
Mhm.
or it's challenging, and then others just really are drawn to other people. So for me, when I was thinking about all of that, I'm not a natural connector. I'm good with people, but it's a challenge for me to really dive in and take it to the next level and really be attentive in relationships and give people my focus and my attention.
Yeah.
Um, so for you, does connecting with people, being that connector, is that natural for you, or is that something you have to be more intentional
Yeah. I
with?
think the kind of connection we're talking about in David Brooks' language in How to Know a Person being a diminisher versus illuminator, I don't think it's natural for anybody.
Hmm.
And even though people think, oh, no, it is, I'm a natural connect, I
Yeah.
would question that.
Hmm.
But it just looks different.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm more like you that way. The way that looks for me is as a task oriented person and a goal oriented person more than a people oriented person.
Hmm.
I'm just thinking about my goal and the task.
Yeah.
And so I have to be careful even in the office or at church, just walking right past people
Hmm.
because I'm not thinking about them. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about what I'm on my way to do. And so there's even times I've had to go back to say, hey, did I just walk right past you and not say anything?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about something. I'm so sorry,
In the zone.
And I'm sure other times I haven't thought about that and I just walked right past him,
Yeah.
and which meant they felt very diminished. And so I have to really focus, even as simple as, part of what we're talking about is choosing to focus on other people
Hmm.
and give our full attention is not easy for me or natural for me to do.
Yeah.
So I make times like in the office now just to walk around and relate
Okay.
and to try to connect to make myself do that. And and at first it felt so awkward because it felt like I'm wasting time or
Uh-huh.
something. I
Yeah.
could be getting something
You be
done.
checking things off,
And we're
moving
just
forward.
talking about something,
Yeah.
but realize no, that's actually the thing, and
Okay.
I need to, or a part of the thing,
Yeah.
and so no, it's not natural, but honestly, I don't really think it's natural for anybody to
Hmm.
connect in the way that we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I think you kind of alluded to this, but do you think people will use their personality or their tendencies to kind of be a crutch or an excuse to then not connect with people?
Yeah, we all do, So I think like for an extrovert will think they're great at connecting, right? And because they're extroverted, right?
Yeah.
They get
They're
energized by other people,
people.
so they're
Hmm.
around people and all that. But just because you are motivated to be around people and you spend time with people, that's not the same thing as connecting in a way that illuminates the other person.
Hmm.
An extrovert can often illuminate themselves, put the spotlight on themselves.
Yeah.
They want to talk and they want to share and they want people to know how fun they are
Be
and all that,
drawn to them.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Uh-huh.
all that, and not all of that's bad, but that's not the same thing as relating in a way that really builds a connection where you see the other person, you relate in a way they feel seen and valued and heard
That makes
and
sense.
and all that. And so for an extrovert, they have to like turn some of that off, say, hey, I'm going to turn the spotlight away from me
Hmm.
and illuminate the other person. And for an
Hmm.
introvert, it's just I'm going to move toward people
Yeah.
because I'd rather not,
Yep.
and but I'm going to, and even though it's going to kind of wear me out a little bit,
Hmm.
but it's worth it to make sure that somebody feels seen, that somebody's. And actually, I think my experience has been because this is a skill to develop.
Hmm.
It's not a personality trait. The
Right.
skill of illumination, and my experience has been that people who are actually better at it is introverts because they're aware that they're not good at it, where and
Yeah.
extroverts think they are.
Yeah.
And so, but either way, it's a skill that we have to learn. And Jesus modeled it, and the Bible talks about it. So there's a lot of help, but I don't think it's natural for anybody, and
Hmm.
just different personalities are gonna fall off one way or another from it.
Yeah. That's so interesting. It's like there has to be this awareness piece to be able to identify things in other people and kind of that not the IQ, the EQ,
Yeah.
right? Like kind
Yeah.
of picking up on the room and the people and being able to see things and be attentive and take a step back and listen and it not just be about the words you're saying or anything. It's really
Right.
about taking a step back and listening to people and then being able to respond. So I love that. Well, we all have that kind of innate need to be seen. And like we were saying, it's not this natural gifting or personality trait that people have. But this concept of being seen, I know in therapy, I've talked about that, right? Like, oh, you just
Yeah.
have this need to be seen by people and valued and all these things. But um, it's not some new therapeutic concept or
Yeah.
this whole, kind of popular cultural thing. It's probably safe to say this has been a problem or an issue or a topic that's been around since Bible times. Would
Yeah.
you say so? I mean,
Yeah. Before that. Yeah.
yeah, even before
Yeah.
that, it's
Yeah.
like, what's the significance of God making sure in the Bible that there's so many times that the word being seen or Jesus saw this person? Like, why is that so significant for God to make sure that we see other people or that he records Jesus seeing
Yeah,
others?
so our souls are created for connection, and we do not do well without it. And we live in a culture that's not doing well because we don't have a lot of it.
Hmm.
And part of connection is seeing people and being seen. It's
Mm-hmm.
both. And last week we talked about being seen and
Mm-hmm.
or being known. This one is talking about choosing to relate in a way where where we see them and we value them and we focus on them and we're generous and we are compassionate and 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 you think about how important that is to God, not only for us, but for the other person, because the the contrast we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
is diminishing versus illuminating. So I
Mm-hmm.
can relate to you in a way that diminishes you. I can
Right.
stereotype. I
Mm-hmm.
can think, oh yeah, Ashley, she's whatever.
Yeah.
She's a girl and she's a driven person or whatever. It's I
Yeah.
think, okay, here's this driven person who's whatever. And I already think I know you
Uh-huh.
and I don't know you
Hmm.
as that's not who you are.
Yeah.
That's a little part of
A
your
snippet.
personality,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And we live in a world right now where there's a lot of stereotyping in a
Hmm.
tribal world where
Yeah.
and so that's one way of diminishing or just speeding past people and basically communicating, you're just not that important
Hmm.
to me to actually zero in on you and look at
Oof.
you and so we don't know that we're doing that, but we're leaving all these diminished people in our wake. And God has created, he loves people. He's created us to flourish. And so it grieves him when
Hmm.
we treat people in a way that
Yeah.
diminishes as opposed to eliminating,
Uh-huh.
which is saying, okay, I'm not going to stereotype. I'm going to realize, no, Ashley is a person.
Mm-hmm.
She's her own person with her own story, and it's a different story than my story.
Yeah.
And the more I know, the more I can benefit
Hmm.
because she's got perspective I need. And God loves her, and and I'm called to
Yeah.
love her too, right? And all that. And so to relate in a way where I do, focus on the other person and I have a generous heart toward the other person. I assume the best and I don't stereotype. Instead I see them as a person and I have compassion, not just wanting to hear, but actually caring and hey, how can I be helpful in that person and lift them up
Mm-hmm.
and I hope you've had a time in your life where you've felt seen in some way. Maybe somebody saw you and saw potential in you and named that, or they saw gifting in you and named that, or maybe somebody saw a need that you had and entered into that, or saw knowledge that you had that they really wanted to understand and know. And when somebody relates to you that way, it just fills
Right?
you up, right? And
Yeah.
you just feel so energized and you feel and all of us are created for that and deserve that. And the people that we relate to are the same. And so if we understand the heart of God and want to build connections,
Yeah.
one of the best ways to do that is just to make sure that we're not diminishers, but we're illuminators and we're
Mm-hmm.
focused and curious and all of that. And I'm really convinced if we do that, we won't have any trouble at all building connections because
Mm-hmm.
it's like a magnet. People are drawn to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and will open up their lives to that, and then you find connection.
Yeah. I love that so much. It kind of, as you were talking, it painted this picture of, let's just say Chick-fil-A, right? Because
Good picture.
Little
Yeah.
fan,
Uh-huh.
yep. Um, like when in line, somebody in front of you might pay for your meal behind you, and then
Yeah.
it's like you kinda
Yeah.
wanna pass it on to the next
Right.
person. It's almost that same thing when we start to really validate it and see people for who they are and show them, that connection and take that time with them. It kind of inspires you to wanna do that for other people, so it's almost that pass it on effect, like, you can kind
Yeah.
of grow that influence as we take steps to doing that ourselves,
Yeah.
so, I don't know, I just
That's a great
popped
image.
in my head. But
Yeah.
gosh, it's such a good challenge. I know I already have things in my head of what I could do to just be more intentional in taking those steps this week. So thank you so much for your message and for sharing your heart with us, and really, really appreciate that. And thank you all for joining us for Postscript, where we take the conversation a little bit further after the message. So we hope to see you next time.